This is civilization, the culmination of mankind's journey from proto-humanity to our jet-setting, high-rise dwelling, thoroughly plugged-in, always-on lifestyle. Now, if you think about it, from our earliest history, humans have come together for protection and to ease the burdens of growing food and building shelter. But in order for it to work, we had to follow rules. And we all know human nature makes us all want to act like little kids and break the rules, snatch a candy bar when nobody's looking, or something else completely socially unacceptable. And we want to do it because following rules sucks. It's a lot more fun to do whatever you want. Thankfully, we have moved beyond that, right? We're civilized. We bathe regularly, we brush our teeth, and we go to work. Work. A job, profession, a calling, or an unpleasant but necessary evil. You gotta have money to live. So we get on the professional treadmill, spending a good portion of our lives working. But what exactly is work? Hi, I'm Bob with Get Details. Technically, work refers to the transfer of energy that happens when a force is applied to an object. But that's not what we're talking about here. I'm talking about professions.
Working for the man every night and day.
That's right.
Working in a coal mine.
Oh yeah.
'Cause I'm working for a living.
Absolutely. It was Kipling who kind of called earning money by doing certain things with your body the world's oldest profession. That's where the idea came from, and it's plausible, but probably not accurate. More likely, it was tool making. The Oldowan tools were found in Tanzania and have been dated to 2.6 million years ago. They were made by early proto-humans called Homo habilis. They were known as the handyman because they developed tools. Scientists figured they had a couple of guys that were really good at it. They kind of made a company and franchise, and pretty soon there were obsidian and flint tool shops on every corner. Or maybe not. In the early days, there was no money. It was all barter or in-kind deals. And remember, this was a couple of million years ago. The idea of currency that you could actually hold in your hand didn't come into play until about 5,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, when they came up with the shekel. Back in the day, a shekel would be about a month's pay for a laborer. Shekels were normally made of silver, and according to a book I read, a shekel weighed about 11 grams, or about a third of an ounce. At today's value, that's about $11.34. So back in the day, over the years, the idea of work has evolved. Today, we're accustomed to an 8-hour workday, 2 to 4 weeks of vacation, and sick days. But it hasn't always been that way. In the U.S., a 40-hour work week became standard on October 24, 1940, with the passage of the Fair Labor Standards Act. Before that, long 12 to 14-hour days, 6 or 7 days a week, were very common. Life was grueling if you had to work for a wage, and children were allowed, or more accurately, forced to work too, often in dangerous conditions in factories and mines or on farms. Plus, there was no minimum wage. Today, the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, or $290 a week, before taxes and deductions. Definitely not enough to live on today. But it's never been very high. The first minimum wage was in 1938, 25 cents an hour. That rose to 30 cents the next year, and it slowly began to rise over the years. Look, it hit $1 in 1956. Then you have to wait 18 more years to get to $2 an hour in 1974. And it has very slowly inched upward until the last increase, which was in 2009. So we are due an increase, that's for sure. But there are some places where the minimum wage is higher. According to Procon.org, 29 states, 4 territories, and the District of Columbia all have higher minimum wages than the federal laws. 20 states are the same, $7.25, and there are some cities with higher minimums too. California Department of Industrial Relations says the rate is $16 an hour in New York and LA, $15 an hour in Chicago, Houston, Phoenix, Philadelphia, San Antonio, San Diego, Dallas, and San Jose. And those are just the top 10. There are a lot of others. But most of us make more than the minimum. And we have to, or we couldn't live. We couldn't have a home, food, transportation, healthcare, internet, or social media. We'd be like people were before the widespread advent of technology. If you could be transported back, say, 300 years, it would be a much simpler time. but I'm willing to bet that you probably wouldn't like it much. Oh, sure, there would be some better parts, probably a lot of them. But the disadvantages of doing every little thing yourself could really get on your nerves. Things like growing your own flax or cotton, or spinning your own thread or weaving, and making your own bricks, chopping down trees with an axe, hauling water from a creek, hunting for dinner, cooking over an open fire, and dying young. Probably from injury, but more likely from a disease. This was life in the good old days. And as tough as that sounds, that was a piece of cake compared to the really early days of civilization and the first jobs. For every need, a profession would spring up. Maybe not all at once, but over a long developmental period. With more than 12,000 job titles listed, there are probably several you could find interesting. What are some of the most unique, unusual, difficult, dangerous, or peculiar professions? Now, these are real jobs. They may be unpleasant, dirty, difficult, dangerous, strange, or require special training. But they are for real, because it seems people will do just about anything for money. Would you consider being a pet food taster? Now, on first glance, I'm thinking, no thank you. I tasted dry dog food as a kid, and it was, less than satisfying. But pet food taster is a real job, and it can pay about $40,000 a year. You need some college and training, and of course, a well-developed palate is a prerequisite, because after all, you are going to be eating, also have an attention to detail, and a love of animals. Or maybe you'd like to be outside, enjoying the beauty of nature, like on a golf course. Of course, you could become a caddy or a golf pro if you're really good. Or how about plunging into golf ball diving? Think about it. There are over 16,000 golf courses spread across America. Here are the top states. A golf ball diver doesn't need a college education, but you may need a professional diving certificate. Also be a strong swimmer, a self-starter, have a love of the game, and if you're still on the fence about this, there's some enterprising golf ball divers who make upwards of $100,000 a year. Confucius said, "Find a job you love, and you'll never work a day in your life." If you enjoy your work, a job can be more like play. Did you ever build anything out of Legos? Of course you did. And it looked really good too, didn't it? You would be a shoo-in for Lego Sculptor, making models out of those ubiquitous plastic cubes and shapes. Lego Master Builders create some amazing models that you've probably seen before. And you wonder how the heck could that be made out of Legos? These guys have a passion and unique skill to turn the ordinary into something truly amazing. Lego block building can vary in compensation between $30,000 and $60,000 a year. Hey, if you love movies, you could become a movie star. But that is a really tough gig to break into. On the other hand, for every face in front of a camera, there are dozens, if not hundreds, behind it. It can take an army of technicians to make a movie seem completely real. It's a special and valuable talent, and there are a lot of different jobs that come together to make it all happen. For instance, you've watched a movie before that was so suspenseful you were on the edge of your seat? One of the reasons was the sound, the way footsteps echoed in a certain way, the click of a weapon being cocked, a car door slamming outside. All those images needed sound to make the illusion complete, and that's the job of a Foley artist. If you have a background in audio engineering or related field, you may find a new home in a Foley studio. Average compensation between $30,000 and $100,000 a year. Or maybe you really did have your heart set on being an actor, but you don't want to move to LA or New York. Well, you could become a professional mourner, someone who has the ability to convey grief and sadness on cue. It helps to have a kind heart, so you can offer sincere condolences to real-life mourners, who may not even be aware that you were hired. But this is more than just a job. Many people find great satisfaction in providing comfort this way. The average salary for a professional mourner or morologist, which comes from the Greek word meaning lamentation, is usually about $40,000 a year, which is paid by funeral homes and families planning funerals. Are you a person who is especially sensitive to foul odors? Does a stinky trash can make you gag? Or how about when you're in a confined space like an elevator and someone overdid it with perfume? then you may not be a good candidate for odor tester or fragrance evaluator. These professionals use their refined olfactory senses to assess and analyze various scents in industries such as fragrance, food, and sanitation. They say you and I can detect more than 1 trillion different odors. Professionals, even more. If you have a nose for it, you could sniff out about 60 grand a year. You know, there are two basic kinds of people in the world. Those who think the only good snake is a dead snake, and those who think serpents are beautiful, majestic creatures and should be revered and not reviled. Now, if that's you, consider a job in the fast-paced world of snake milking. Now, you're not exactly going to sit on a tiny stool and get a thimble of milk from a black mamba. The idea is to milk their fangs for the venom, which is used to make anti-venom. It's a very intense but exciting profession. It helps to have a degree in biology, herpetology, or a related field, but honestly not required. Most of the training for snake milkers is done on the job. Average take-home pay is about 40 grand a year, but for a real go-getter in a high snake population area, you could rake in a lot more. As I said at the beginning, people will do just about anything for money. If there's a need, someone will fill it. And that's how you find yourself in the crime scene cleanup business. I personally know someone who does this, and it's not for the faint-hearted or anyone with a weak stomach. You'll find yourself in some very messy situations, cleaning up blood and body parts, or maybe a meth lab or other contaminated location. Somebody's got to suit up and get rid of it. It's not a job a lot of people would want to do, which is why it can pay upwards of $75,000 a year. We've looked at some completely unique and different types of jobs. And to be honest, most of them seem like a lot of work. Maybe you're thinking the same way. Well, hey, I've got the job for you. And me too. May I present the position of professional sleeper. Now, this is no joke. You'll just look like you're relaxing while you snore, but really, you're hard at work, evaluating and assessing the comfort of beds and mattresses, blankets, pillows, and other sleep-related articles. It may sound like the ideal job, but it's not really that easy. You'll have to have the ability to fall asleep just about anywhere, with people around. And you need to... Hello? You fell asleep, didn't you? Salary for professional sleepers only about 40 grand a year, so it's safe to say most sleepologists don't do it for the money. They're working for you to pioneer new and even more satisfying sleep products. And there you go, a quick overview of some unique jobs that you may not have even known about. You can use this as a springboard to think up new and exciting ways to find your own dream job. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our other not sleepy videos and get details.